then I put manual or the type of focus I want to use, and you have to have it in manual focus. You want to pre-focus. After you've selected manual focus, you want to make sure you get it sharp on the area you want to be sharp within your photo. And then when it's in aperture mode, all the 5 frames that you shoot will have the same depth of field. So down here you can see I've got my aperture, exposure, and the ISO. And these are the 3 main settings that will influence what type of shot you're going to get. So in aperture mode, when we change the aperture, it will automatically adjust the exposure for you. So by changing the aperture, we can actually set what exposure we want. And you want to essentially pick one for what type of shot you want. So if I choose f1.8, we're going to have a relatively fast shutter speed in 1/80. But if I chose f11, the exposure is going to be 0.5 seconds, which is much slower. So we're going to probably get lots of movement across the water here. And those are just some things to think about when selecting your aperture. So do you want movement, or do you want it to come up sharp? The other thing you can do too is, if you wanted it to be even sharper than 1/80th, we can increase our ISO. So to do this, I've just quickly got mine in the function setting here. So let's take it up to 800 and have a look at, or even 1600, and see what our new exposure is going to be. See 1000th of a second, you can see it's become much faster. But if we bring our ISO back down, you can see it comes back to 1/80th. So there are just some ways that you might be able to adjust the exposure using the aperture and the ISO. You need to be able to adjust your EV settings. So here are mine, and I simply just move the arrow like this from -3 all the way to +3. Start on 0, so this is where the little arrow is. So I've got a 2-second time delay on each exposure. So when I press the shutter on the 0, it waits 2 seconds to take the frame, and I quickly just go to -1. To -2. To +1. And then finally the +2. And there's the 5 frames you need to make HDR.